Hey, what's up everyone? Alex Ward here with Eternal Guitars and Hot Rod Pickups, and welcome back to our series of videos entitled Pickup Lines. Do you see what we've done there?
Very nice.
It's pretty good,
Beautiful.
I have to say. Where we invite some fantastic Eternal guitar users down to the studio to hang out, play a bit and chat a bit. And as you can see, today we have the very marvellous Mr. Lewis Harding here, the man himself. So first off, just want to say thank you so much for coming out and taking time out of your day to come down.
No worries, pleasure.
Oh, very kind. And it's the deepest, darkest country that we're in here, so well done for finding it. And you've brought an array of guitars and also a very nice Dr. Z amp for us to use in the future, so look out for that. So we'll be checking out some of these guitars and whatnot. But first off, Lewis, can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into playing guitar and who some of your influences were as a kid?
Yeah, no worries. I sort of started playing guitar, I'm trying to think. I was probably about 12, 13, I believe. There's always a lot of music in my house. You know, my dad's really heavily into music and always kind of just around and listening to it. Loads of great influences. And I just always wanted to do it. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And I still do, to be honest with you. I think it's brilliant. And it's, yeah, there's something about the guitar, I don't know what it is, that, yeah, it's got something that fascinates me. It's really good, the way that everyone brings something different to the party on it. I think it's fantastic how you can express yourself so easy. And, you know, I completely understand as an instrument why it is so popular. Yeah, it's intoxicating, really. Yeah, look, influences. I think, you know, it's a bit cheesy, but I always remember what made me think about guitar was I remember seeing a bit of Malmsteen.
Oh yeah.
It's a real guilty pleasure, as we all know.
There's no such thing, right? If you like it, you like it.
I do, yeah. And I remember seeing it and I just think, wow, you know, it's like a hurricane. Like his playing was just immense. But, you know, all things like Gary Moore as well, and a lot of sort of music, you know, that was sort of playing around the house, like Steely Dan and all these kind of things. It's fantastic musicians. But I think, I'd say I think Malmsteen was the one who really made me think, you know, I need to go and buy some leather trousers. No, but you know what I mean? It's absolutely fantastic, and you know the technique, and it's just the whole rock and roll experience is very exciting. You know, in a time where you know that was very acceptable and all that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of those guys, it's so much more than just playing guitar, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
the full experience.
Yeah, you know the massive amps, the whole the smoke, and all the mirrors and all that. It's fabulous.
I mean, what's not to love, right? That's...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we all want, you know, 10 massive amps, you know, all of death and all that. It's brilliant.
As long as someone else is carrying them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah. As I said, you know, a 15 watt amp, you know, it's all very well and good. But yeah, and yeah, I really love that kind of Steely Dan vibe as well. You know, it's really funny because I sort of sit between two different camps. You know, I really love very simplistic playing, but I find it very difficult for myself to resist the urge, like I think most guitar players do, to overplay, and I've always been massively guilty of overplaying, and I'm starting to take a lot more satisfaction with trying to kind of will that in, you know, and I think that's quite interesting. I'm trying to think, yeah, Gary Moore I always thought was just outrageous, but I think, you know, like we were talking about earlier, actually the acoustic players who've massively interested me, like Leo Kottke and people like that, you know, I listened to from an early age. I just think, you know, immense players, you know, and it's about, they sort of intertwine those melodies in with the chords as well, which I think is just such a skill. Magic, really. You know, when you listen to it on the speakers and you think, wow, you know, it's just magic, really.
Well, I remember as a kid listening to that kind of stuff and thinking it was definitely two guitars.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
And when someone told me it wasn't,
yeah,
it took me a while to
it's
believe
when
them.
when you see it, I can't remember who it was. I think it was it John Martin, not John Martin. I can't remember. It was someone we saw, and it was a fantastic live gig, and he was a jazz guitar player, and he was saying, "Oh, what we do is we'll add the start off with the chords, then with these fingers I'll add the bass line in, and then I'll add the melody in, and then I'll add the harmony to the melody." And I'm sort of, hey, you know, like, you know, this is incredible, you know, and I mean that's the guitar's such a fantastic platform for that, you know, which is just great. And you know, and music in general is such a great common ground. I think to meet, you know, people and stuff like this. It's brilliant.
Oh, agree.
You can't beat it, really.
No. So, so you've just started learning guitar, and you've got these influences behind you.
Yeah.
What's your first guitar?
I had a Richter Stratocaster. I can't remember. It was like a white Strat with a black scratch plate. I thought it was the bee's knees. I mean, it was really cool. You know, you can't.
There's nothing wrong with white strats and black scratch plates. Just tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that, that'll ever reach the heights of the Richter.
No,
but,
of course,
you know,
yeah.
it had like a very sort of Ibanez type headstock. You know, and I thought it was great, but just to have an electric guitar was awesome. You know.
So you went straight in with electric then?
Yeah. So it's funny, really, because you know, always straight in with electric.
Yeah.
But nice guitar. I can't remember where I went from there, really. Sometimes I'm just here now, aren't I?
And you wiggled your way to the Eternal Guitars through a plethora of different types of things.
Yeah.
So when was it that you decided, so after you've got your first guitar and you've been playing all this stuff and you've learned and you've got better and better and better, when was it that you decided that it's time I become a pro musician? Was it quite early on or was it later in your life?
I don't really, I was actually thinking about this quite recently and I don't know when that kind of happened. It's funny, isn't it? Because you sort of just arrive at where you are now and suddenly you go, hold on a minute. But it's about 14, 15 years ago, you know, if you say the sort of going pro sort of thing. And I don't know really. It's just sort of happened really. But I don't know if I really consider myself as a pro, even though, you know, when I think of the word pro, I always think of someone who knows what they're up to. And you know what I mean? It's that whole thing that we all have, you know, you think...
Well, I understand exactly what you mean, but I think you guys will agree after hearing Lewis play over the intro and you'll hear him again at the end of this video, you are definitely a pro. And you know your onions, I'll tell you that right now. So, as you've grown as a player and as you've become more aware of different things on the guitar through your life, how has that changed your influences? As you've gone, have your influences always remained the same? Like it's always been Gary Moore and Yngwie and Steely Dan, or has it sort of moved to other people?
I think, I mean that's what sort of kicks you off, doesn't it? And you know, you always refer back to these things that, and you know, I think it massively has opened it up, hugely, really. Like I look at the sort of world of the country playing now, and I just think, wow, you know, I wish I wasn't so closed off a little bit when I was younger, because we all do, you know, think, oh, I don't want that. And it's just, you know, wow, those guys are outrageous. You know, and those licks, and trying to incorporate all those kind of things to your own playing, really. I don't know, really. It's a strange one. I think that it can actually, those, I always refer back to those early influences, like we said, but I don't think really I sound anything like any of those guys now. Maybe in the head I'd like to, but it's just kind of a mishmash of all of it. It's about trying to find out who you are as a player, isn't it? And I think that's difficult. And I think maybe, you know, by the time I'm about 60, you might have a slight idea.
Well, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head there. With that's kind of the beauty of guitar playing. Going back to what you were saying earlier, is that you have all these influences and it does become a mishmash of all of them, because I mean, especially when you've got such eclectic things such as Malmsteen, Steely Dan, you know, Gary Moore, all that kind of stuff, Leo Kottke, all of that. If it's shaping your playing, it's all gonna come out in some form or other, and then I suppose that's how you get your voice, as it were. But as your influences change, your voice changes with it, I guess. Like,
and I think it's looking at sort of how you create as well. So, you know, your influences change with certain music you listen to, and you know, actually sort of writing as well. And I think that's what's, you know, it's easy to get stuck in a rut with lead playing, isn't it? You know, because you end up, you know, going over the same old ground, and you know, I'm guilty of it massively. But I think that when you're sort of creating and actually trying to give things form and stuff like that, that's when your influences start coming in. Especially with the acoustic guys who, you know, you have these melodies and then they repeat and they have these sections, and you think, oh, it's really cool, because it's like a motif that runs through all the pieces, a bit like you'd like to do in a lead break, until I just, you know, end up doing something nonsense. The best lead breaks are the ones which have those fantastic parts, you know, or they go the other way. They're completely unscripted and loose, and you know, and it's fantastic.
But I think as well, like talking about the sort of structure of a solo and the structure of a melody, I think you're absolutely right, is that some of the best ones, even when they are loose and completely off-piste, the best ones tend to still be where there's moments of structure, like it starts off in a certain way, then it goes somewhere else, and then there's some sort of journey that takes you
there's a magic spot, isn't there, you know, somewhere where, you know, we all remember in our favourite solos. Like there's an album, Roger Waters' Muse to Death, which has got Jeff Beck playing it, and all the way through it. And there's a solo which is possibly my favourite solo of all time, because the way he builds the solo, the way he's so sympathetic to what's going on behind the solo, which is, you know, epic, you know, and he's just immense, you know.
Yeah.
It just builds and builds, and it, you know, I could, you know, I can sing it note for note, you know, it's brilliant, but it's so powerful.
Let's just get your mic on.
But there's points in that, you know, when he's just in the background and creating these textures, really, you know. I think that, you know, that knowing when to play, which is something that I'm only really learning now, very small way of learning that, you know. It's very easy to make the jokes, you know. I'll come in, you know, what do you want me to do? You know, start my solo when the vocal starts. I play over all the vocal lines, you know, and you spend your life playing when you don't need it, and when you sort of relax a little bit. Yeah, and I think that's an interesting journey for me anyway, you know.
And I suppose with those players as well, it's partly about the notes they play, but it's also about the way they phrase.
Yeah.
And when you've got those influences, such a wide variety of influences like that, you could take the way all of those people phrase, and then the way you phrase becomes a very unique.
I mean, you look at Richard Thompson as an electric and acoustic guitar player, and he's just outrageous. You know, I think he's the way he gets a fantastic tone at the Strat, but he can't be any so. He's got this kind of bebop type, you know, and it's just brilliant. You know, it's really attacking, but it's soft at the same time, and it represents him. And I think it's fantastic. And you know, a lot of people don't talk about Richard Thompson as a rock guitar player. You know, they say, oh, he's a folk guitar player, but you know, awesome, what a player. You know, but he's a great musician, and these guys are, you know, these are great musicians, and that's what it's all about. I think for me, that's what it's about. Not just becoming a guitar player. I'd really love to be, you know, a great musician and be able to construct music in any kind of format, which is, which is fantastic, you know. And like we say, like the guitar is a fantastic, you know, platform for that. You know, just trying to say no, I don't want to go on the same things I've always done, you know, and just try and push yourself a little bit more. But,
sweet. Well, talking about guitar, obviously you have this absolutely beautiful Eternal guitar in your hands, and you have brought another one as well, which we will be checking out in a minute, and I will, through the magic of movie editing, we can see what that guitar looks like right now, but for the time being we'll stick with this T-type that you have here. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you actually found Eternal guitars and what led you to them?
Yeah, basically I think how long ago would it have been, 10 years ago maybe. Yes, something like that. Anyway, Dave from Eternal was doing a bit of repair work and doing the guitars from someone I knew on their premises, and we sort of got to know each other, and I had to go on some of the guitars, and I just thought, you know, it's just fantastic. They really have. So I ended up buying one, which is this one, which is Robin. She's 2011.
Wow, so early doors. So this is your first Eternal guitar?
Yeah, this is my first, and it's funny because I never thought I'd be a telly man at all. I was always a bit closed off to the tellies, and now a telly is like something that I never could live without. You know, for me, it can do any gig, do everything really. They're fabulous, and I wish I'd kind of realised that a lot sooner. And it's fantastic. I mean, she's had a couple of tweaks over the years as things have gone. You know, there was some sort of humbucker, I think, there before that, and then we've got this Novatron, and then we've got, I don't know what it's called, is it T90, I think we've got in there, and she's just really nice. I mean, she's not too light, she's not too heavy, the neck's quite nice, I like quite a chunky neck,
right?
But she does all those kind of sounds that I want, you know, you can sort of get the country stuff. It's got that kind of.
So that's the blend of the.
Yeah, so that's in the middle. Okay, so we've got the neck there. You can get that kind of jazz. So excuse the fingers. But she really responds really nicely, you know. And then we've got that one there. Just rings, you know.
Yeah.
Terrible fretting that. And sort of, I don't know what it is. It's very nice to play with fingers, you know, because it has that kind all that kind of stuff, bounce, as they say, which you normally associate with a kind of Strat, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic. I mean, this is a guitar that I could quite happily, if I had to choose one, could do everything that I do, which is really cool.
It's a really nice sounding T90. The thing I love about the T90 is that you retain that T-type kind of spank, but without too much ice pick. It's still got the clarity and that real cut through the mix, but it's not going to rip your head off. So that sounds absolutely fantastic.
It will sort of, you know, and we've got the coil split there, or do someone.
And what that's splitting the Novotron in the neck.
So someone said to me the other day, which I thought was really cool, it was the get out of the way switch. Do you know what I mean? So if you're sort of like, so that's with it up. You know, you can kind of sit back in the mix if you want to, which is quite cool.
Nice.
Cool. And it's almost like, for me, I feel like it's having another little channel. You know, your sneaky little channel there that you can bring in. But I think that when you back off a little bit as well on these guitars, you know, even at a low volume, she's still. That's where the magic kind of lies, you know. Like with all most guitars, I think when you back off, you turn off a little bit. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Very honest sounding, and I think that's the thing, you know.
Very organic. It's a really nice sounding guitar. That. So that's your T-type.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick little swipe, and we'll get the S-type going in a matter of seconds. And we're back in the room with the eternal S-type that belongs to Mr. Lewis Harding. So, can you talk us through a little bit about this? Some of the specs, what the pickups are, etc.
Yeah. What we've got is, I had two tellies from Dave, one of them over there, and I really wanted him to make me a Strat. What we've got here is, this has been upgraded. I think we used to have the Revelations in this originally. These are the Ozones, I believe. So we've got ash body, maple neck, always the same with me, always the 5 springs locked, because I don't want any of that nonsense, which is it's cool for other people, but I find it, you know, a hardtail Strat is really cool, and it's just fabulous. It just, you know, again, she's very honest sounding, you know, and it's just really pleasurable.
I think the thing with some of Dave's guitars, or pretty much all of Dave's guitars, is they have this sustain to them.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. I mean, it's the sign of a quality instrument as far as I'm concerned. If they've got that sustain, you know it's been built with love. Yeah. You know, and that sustain for days, right? That sounds great.
It's also nice as well because I think it encourages me to play slightly less. You know, obviously when you see the videos of us playing earlier, and I'll just be doing loads of nonsense and just contradicting all of the stuff that I've been saying.
Which is not a problem, if you ask me. I mean, it sounds great.
You know, but you know, you really want to sort of those kind of if you find that sweet spot, so. Again, this sort of bounce that I was talking about. Lovely.
That sounds great. There's a tremendous amount of body to that. Where was that? Was that a bit in between the neck and the middle?
There. You can get that. You know, and you sort of change the position a little bit. I was doing a gig quite recently, and you know, when you sort of solo section at your gig and the whole band goes slightly quieter, and she really cuts through. You know, she has that tone which is just there, and it's very nice, and you sort of, you can feed it in, and but it's fantastic. It's nice. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. I've had the neck unvarnished there, so I find that a lot nicer really than having a sort of varnished neck. And obviously she's beaten up, which is great. You know, fantastic. I really like the finish. I like Life Miles on the guitar. Yeah, I think it's great. You know?
And you know, obviously, if you want a guitar that looks pristine, Dave can absolutely do that for you. But Eternal Guitars really do specialise in these aged looking guitars, and like you, Lewis, I think they just look fantastic when they've been.
I mean, they're not for everyone, but to have that finished look, because some people want a brand new guitar, but I think it's fabulous.
Agreed. Yeah, preaching to the converted there, I have to say. So talking about your gigs, then, you were saying that in those kind of contexts where the band backs off, the guitar still responds exactly how you want it to respond. What kind of gigs is it that you are using these Eternal guitars on? Like, what kind of work do you get when you're out and about?
I do a selection of gigs, really, from a lot of sort of cover stuff to a lot of, original stuff and things like that, So the demands on the guitars are pretty much so we can have to play stuff from indie to, to the blues stuff, to the jazzy stuff, to the old school kind of, the vintage stuff like we were talking about earlier. So you have to have a guitar which will sit in that kind of tonal region between double bass and a piano, or you kind of acoustic guitar, bass and drums sort of electric setup, or with the organ as well. So and the tellies all work really well, the Strats all work really well. And what's nice about it is the fact that you know how the guitar's going to react. So you can kind of, when, like we're saying, when you go down, for the solo section it drops, you can kind of trust it, which is really cool. So you think, I want to start just bringing her in a little bit more volume wise, and it's cool. But the gigs, sort of a mixture of stuff really. Some sort of festival work and stuff like that. I'm not saying that I get the tones right at all for any of these, because I probably don't. I'm probably miles off.
Well, a bit like you were saying earlier, it's you book Lewis, you get Lewis. Yeah, and I like that. I think that's a cool thing.
Laziness as well, though. I think the trouble is there's a difference between sort of saying I don't want to, it's all about not learning the parts. Obviously, you have to learn the parts, but I do like that, but it's not financially beneficial.
Well, we don't get into that into this game for that, do we? I mean, it's for the love of the guitar, and it's really clear that you've got a deep love for the guitar. And I think going back to what you were saying about the dynamic playing, it's really difficult to play dynamically if you don't trust your instrument.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how it's going to react, you tend. Well, this is just me talking now. I tend not to risk it.
Yeah, you go safe,
Yeah, all the time. But it's just nice to know that in all of those contexts that you've said that you do, and Lewis is a busy man, like every weekend. What you were saying, you had how many gigs this?
Was it 5 last weekend?
5 in a weekend? Not in a week, 5 in a weekend. You said you did like 4 in a day once.
I did, yeah. It was.
This man's mental.
I didn't say I played well. I played terribly, and it was massively stressful.
Nice. But you did it. But to know that your instrument is going to handle everything like that, it just keeps the headaches down to the scheduling, rather than the headaches down to what you're. I've got this gig with this band, I need this guitar. I've got this gig with that band, I need that guitar. It's nice to know that you can do it all on there.
I mean, they're really great guitars. When I went up with Dave to do the guitar show up in Birmingham. When was it? I think it would have been 2016, which was fantastic because you get to play all the guitars, and it's you hear some. What was really cool was hearing, people, just trying the guitars. And there's just some monster players out there in there. I mean, wow,
it's quite something.
Wow, they're
if you let it terrify you, it can be terrifying. But on the other direction, it's really not refreshing. That's not the word, but it's you can become a sponge, can't you? And be like, I need to get involved in all this.
It was quite an overwhelming environment to have. I mean, I've been to the National Guitar Show before, but not for years, and I've kind of forgotten how overwhelming the noise is. And it's fantastic. But hearing some of those guys pick up the Eternals and play them was just great. I think that's the highlight for me, really, hearing the other people play it. Because you never really hear it yourself, do you?
It's true, because you're concentrating, aren't you?
And hearing other people play guitars, I think, was really cool.
Yeah. So, in terms of your setup, then, we were talking earlier before we started rolling about the setup that you take. It's pretty similar for most of the gigs you do, right? It's pretty much just the same.
A few changes. Like I reckon the amp I use the most is that old Blues Junior behind us, because it's got that lovely sort of Fender sound. It's very reliable. It's great for the old stuff, for the spring reverb and all that kind of stuff. There's just something very comforting about that. For the rockier stuff, I use a Dr. Z The Cure, which is the small 14 watt, I believe. which is nice. It's just a bit more rock, you know, and it's very loud. Or use little 5 watt for some stuff. They're all, you know.
So would you say that your tone, you enjoy it more when the power amp is working, rather than, so with a 5 watt, obviously that's going to be cooking pretty quickly.
I love a small amp, I really do. But yeah, it's about that kind of getting that break up, but not that disappearing. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I love that sort of 15 watt, the Junior, because it's got all that. Interesting though, but I think you know it's the fingers, isn't it? I mean, like you look at Jeff Beck and he just plugs into anything.
It's true,
and it's just like any guitar off the wall.
Well, who was it who was saying? I can't remember who this was. So please, this is a misquote. I'm warning you, it's a misquote. But someone somewhere, I believe, said that they went to a Van Halen gig or a show where Eddie Van Halen was playing.
Yeah.
And they were really stoked because he let them plug into his gear. And they thought, oh man, I'm going to sound like Van Halen.
Yeah.
And he was disappointed because he just sounded like himself still.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Doesn't matter what you play through, you're still going to sound like you, and it comes back to finding your voice, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that shows that they've got a fantastically transparent guitar set up there, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
No, it is great, and I always sort of struggled with tone and things like that, and you know, I worry. I mean, sometimes you worry, you know, about if you got the sound that you getting the best out of your equipment and stuff like that, and you know, I've never been massively confident in my own tone. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, it's okay, but I think everything can be better.
Okay.
But you know what I mean?
Pretty good
so it's yeah. I mean, if you're feeling good and you're playing well, then you probably have a good time.
This is true. This is true. So with your amp, then, do you supplement it with pedals, or is it?
A few pedals. Yeah. I was saying we've got a little setup down here at the moment. I'm very guilty of reverb. I love a bit of reverb, especially a good old spring reverb. I think that's great. Yeah, things like old tube screamers and stuff. I had a pedal board and it was a bit of a joke because basically it was just all overdrives. You know, it was completely useless.
Well, that's that thing that Yngwie said, less is more is more.
Yeah, imagine what more is. It's fantastic. But yeah, I like, I mean, that setup's very simple, you know, the reverb delay, the Jam Tube Dreamer or whatever, and that's quite nice. And a little wah. And it's funny looking at wah, actually. I always think that maybe wah's become, I don't know, I always think that you have to have a wah on a pedal board, but I'm not entirely sure that that's the case.
Well, I suppose it depends on what kind of player you are.
Old school lead player, I think, you know, like so. It's somewhere in the middle, isn't it? If you're really old school, then you wouldn't have a wah. If you're somewhere in the middle, you have a wah, but then anything after that, you don't have one, or, you know, I just think a wah is cool, innit? And I'll probably massively overuse it.
Yeah, well, wah and an S-type, you can't really go wrong with that, can you?
And it's the faces, you know.
Yes.
The ridiculous faces that they just are there all the time.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? When it comes down to it, we could talk about guitars all day long, but it really is to do with how you look. That's at the end of the day. Let's be honest.
Our faces are ridiculous. Absolutely crazy.
Well, listen, Lewis, it's been a pleasure talking to you. A pleasure playing with you. I have to say, you can hear it in the clips that we've overlaid and put in the intro and outro. An absolutely astonishing player, and it has been a pleasure to jam along with you. Thanks for coming down.
No, thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. And if you want to check out more about Lewis, we'll put some links to some of his stuff in the description. And if you want to know more about the Eternal guitars and the Hot Rod pickups that he's using, or you're interested in getting some for yourself, then please feel free to head to the website www.eternalguitars.com, and we'll link that as well. And until next time, take it easy.
Thank you.